man is back.
Oh, okay, boys. Oh my gosh, the ring got messed up. This is a 5 out of freaking 5.
It is beat making time.
Next week is E3 week. My album comes out next week.
I have the leopard.
This is your boy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. This is your boy Dash the True Inferno. Back at it with another Call of Duty Black Ops 6 commentator video gameplay for you guys. And I know I'm kind of late with this video, but you know, real life happens. So, you know, it is what it is. So I apologize for that. But I got to talk about this before Wednesday. I got to talk about this because this is some interesting stuff right here. We're talking about Nintendo again. Yeah, Nintendo messing up again. Yeah, there's going to be more videos about Nintendo messing up in the future, but we got to talk about this one first. And this one could put them in trouble. If not now, then maybe a year or 2 or 3 years from now. It could put them in trouble. The word here is could. I'm not saying it will definitely put them in trouble, but it could put them in trouble. So what's going on here? The third-party support. Now, it's got a mixed review, a mixed bag of reviews to be exact. So, what's going on? Well, looking at games like Cyberpunk 2077 and Street Fighter 6, word of mouth is both of those games are running pretty fine on the Switch too. Okay, that's good. That's great. Great news. So you would think that it's going to be like that throughout all their third-party games, right? You're probably thinking, then what's the problem? Well, those were just rather 2 examples of third-party games that are running fine on the Switch 2. But now we got some other games that are reportedly terrible on the Switch 2. One of them being Elden Ring. So yeah, Elden Ring, check this out. Because somebody from IGN played Elden Ring on the Switch 2. And on handheld mode, which is its most powerful form between, well, not handheld mode, but the dock mode. Dock mode is actually the most powerful mode. But in handheld mode, nevertheless, the IGN guy said it's a complete nightmare. The game will chug if you're in an open area, in combat, riding on a turret, to name some examples. And the thing about it is this. I didn't even realize this was the thing until, you know, this was brought to my attention. But with Elden Ring and every other From Software game, apparently there's some type of From Software performance problems that already exist within their games, Elden Ring included. And that's just on PC or any console that there is. But on the Switch 2, where you got that on top of what the IGN do experience, yeah, that's a really big problem. And Elden Ring is a popular game. And while I would not encourage anybody to do third-party anything on any Nintendo system, to be honest, because there's much better options for that. Like, even outside of Sony and Microsoft right now, well, okay, at the moment, Sony don't have anything that is like a legit handheld competitor. Obviously, they had that, what is that PS5 thing, but I wouldn't necessarily call that a legit competitor of the Switch 2 because, if memory serves it correctly, you need to have an actual PlayStation 5 in order for that handheld version to work. I could be wrong in that. They might have done a change to make it work on its own, wherever the case may be. Make it have its own library. I doubt it, but nevertheless, outside of that, and then Microsoft, they got the Asus Xbox collab, which is basically a Asus system, but it's like themed with Xbox, in my opinion. That's basically what it is. So we're not even going to count that as a direct competitor because Asus is more of a competitor to the Steam Deck and stuff like that. Basically, games that normally run on PC that can be ran on a handheld. That's basically what that market is. So again, like the Asus and the Steam Deck and stuff like that. The Switch and the Switch 2 are not that because you don't play games that you can play on PC on those systems. You cannot get on Windows on those systems. Those are consoles that just so happen to be handhelds as well. And Microsoft don't have that. And at this moment in time, PlayStation don't have that. Or Sony rather. But if y'all remember that video that I did a while back about the PlayStation 6 fiasco, they are planning, well, the word is, the leak is, that they are planning on doing a PlayStation 6 handheld. And if that's true, and whenever that thing drops, Nintendo's going to be in trouble. In my opinion, Nintendo could potentially be in trouble. But let's get back to the topic at hand here. So we talk about third-party games running poorly on the Switch 2. And another example would be Borderlands 4. Notice how that game is out now for every other system except for the Switch 2. There's a reason for that. So we're going to turn to another content creator or a leaker, whichever one you want to call them, by the way, of Epic NNG, like the actual letters NNG. So he quoted on Twitter, aka X. This was on August the 22nd. So he went to Gamescom, which was out in Germany somewhere. This is like mid to late August, by the way, when Gamescom took place. He posted a tweet on August the 22nd, and then he dropped a video further explaining the tweet, amongst other things, about Borderlands 4 on August the 23rd. But the tweet said the following. Okay, I'll just put it bluntly. Borderlands 4 on the Switch could barely run at 30 FPS with 4 enemies on screen in dock mode. Remember what I said? Dock mode is more powerful than handheld mode. So if the Switch 2 is on its most powerful form, but yet it's having problems running at 30 frames per second with 4 enemies on the screen, that's not good. That's not good. Let's get back to the quote though. It had horrendous input delay, and the render resolution was seemingly turned all the way down. And then he said he'll talk more about it in a video maybe tomorrow. So the video in question, let me see if I can find the title. Here it is. It is called, and it dropped August the 23rd on his channel, which is called Epic NNG. So I'm going to try to have this video in the description box below. But it is called Borderlands 4 Performance Thoughts, DLSS, Frame Gen, Switch 2 Disaster, and more. And then in parentheses, Gamescon 2025. So yeah, there you go with that. So if you want to see that whole video, you can do that. But if you want to get to the Switch 2 port, he talks about a bunch of stuff. He talks about how it ran on PC and the frame for the gen, you know, I'm assuming for the current gen with the consoles, performance thoughts. And then he got to the Switch 2. That was like the last thing he talked about. So if you want to get to the Switch 2 part, go to the 10:58 mark of that video. So how he described it, with his actual gameplay, he would not advise Nintendo to sell that game. Based on what he played, he would advise Nintendo to not sell that game. Like, he would advise, you know, whoever it is that's in charge of Borderlands, or runs Borderlands, whatever the case may be, to not sell that joint as it is on the Switch 2. Now, he also said that other people played it on the Switch 2, and they didn't experience the same type of problems he did. So keep that in mind as well. So he's going off of what he experienced, and according to him, it was really, really bad. Now, of course, they would not allow him to record actual gameplay. And I'm shaking my head at that, because I actually went through something like that at Pokemon Worlds when I did the Legends ZA demo. But nevertheless, yeah, that's what he experienced, that's what he said, and that's his thoughts on Borderlands 4 on the Switch 2. And there got to be some truth to that, because again, the game is not out yet on the Switch 2. Yes, you can still pre-order it, and the game is scheduled to come out on October the 3rd. And actually, it was scheduled to come out like a week or so after that, but I guess they pushed it up, or maybe I read the date wrong. I don't know. But that one, and that's the only game, that's the only system who haven't released that game yet, and that game is coming out in October. So, very interesting stuff, if I do say so myself. And during this time when he put this tweet out and put this video out, yeah, there was a lot of concerns, because at that moment in time, the game was scheduled to come out on September the 12th throughout all consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch 2, and PC. But they put, sometime after that, they pushed it back, which was a smart move on, I don't know who came up with that idea, whether it was Nintendo or whoever runs Borderlands, but it was a smart move for them to do that, because based on what this guy said and experienced, that is not good. That is not good. And now we have to look at the future of third party on the Switch 2, because one of the things that they wanted to do, and one of the things that they were hanging their head, their hats on rather, when this system first came out was, oh yeah, we got a bunch of third party games coming to the system, games that been out for like 2-3 years or whatever the case may be. I mean, Elden Ring is a 2-3 year old game, and yet it can't run properly on the Switch 2, but yet the Steam Deck can run it fine, Asus can run it fine, and I literally said those are not their competitors, like direct competitors. But if you want to play Elden Ring or whatever the case may be on a handheld, you may want to look to them as opposed to the Switch 2. Now, some of you guys, and I will agree with this, some of you guys will say, well, Nintendo, even though they want to, they tried, are not known for third-party games. If you want third-party games, go to PlayStation, go to Xbox, which is true, because Nintendo is really all about their first-party games. So, you know, the Marios, the Zeldas, the Kirbys, the Donkey Kongs, or like I call them, Donkey Bitch-ass. You know, stuff like that. Stuff that Nintendo owns. Pokemon, another example. First-party games, that's what really is Nintendo bread and butter. And so far, there's no issues regarding those games. And yeah, that is true, because let's be real here, and I think I said this before, well, but who got the best first-party support games out now? That would be Nintendo. That would be Nintendo. It sure as hell ain't Microsoft, because some of their games are now moving over to PlayStation. And there's going to be another video that I got coming soon where you can make a case that is also not PlayStation, because some of their first-party games are moving to other systems. And I'll have to review that video as my source in terms of the video where I saw that from. And then that may be the next video that I do. But I had to look into that. But if that is true, Nintendo is the clear front runner in terms of first-party support. If it's not true, they still are the front runners, but it's a little bit close, because PlayStation and Sony do got some bangers in terms of first-party games and stuff like, and franchises and stuff like that. They just been lagging with it. They've been slacking with that though. That's the problem with Sony, which led to the comment: the PlayStation 5 doesn't really have a lot of games. You can also make that same case for Xbox with the Xbox Series X and S. But Nintendo still have first-party games, and that could carry them, you know, throughout this next generation. But if they're trying to get into that third-party support fiasco with news on the PlayStation 6 handheld, nah, they ain't winning that battle. They are not winning that battle. So unless they get their act together with the third-party support, they better heavily rely on their first-party support. And here's the thing, before I call it a wrap, here's the thing about their first-party support on the Switch 2, that is. Even though they have some games, you know, the Mario Kart, the Donkey Kong, and whatever else that is out now. I can't think of anything else that's out now. And there's some games that were on the Switch that are on the Switch 2 that have been updated or have extra DLC, whatever the case may be. So yeah, they do got some content. They do got some games. But in terms of like legit brand new games for the Switch 2, nah, they don't have a lot of those either. But at the same time, they have plenty of time to get those out, because they are dropping a bunch of games between now and March of next year. After all, they did do the Nintendo Direct not that long ago. So, yeah, like they got time to beef up their first-party support for the Switch 2 in terms of brand new games, and not rely on games that was on the Switch that they bring over to the Switch 2, but updated the graphics and add more DLC, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. So, nevertheless, they have time to beef up their library. Because, and not to mention, another thing that's on the side is, will Sony slack off with the PlayStation 6 like they did with the PlayStation 5 in terms of first-party games? That's another question. Because if what we saw rather for the PlayStation 5 come true for the PlayStation 6, the PlayStation 6, even the handheld, will be a waste of money to a degree. But with the third-party support, then we have a different conversation. So that's my thoughts. I'm gonna call it a wrap now. And with all that said, y'all know this is the boy New Jack Aspie, aka New Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Yeah.